This is Campus Takeover, brought to you by Trib Preps. Each week we'll visit the campus of one of Friday night's marquee matchups. We'll break down key storylines and talk with players and coaches from both teams. And afterward, we'll pick the winners of the biggest games. Hit it! We're here at Springville High, where the Red Devils are getting prepared to take on their crosstown rival Maple Mountain. Both teams check in undefeated at 3-0. Springville is ranked number 3 in 4A and number 9 overall in the Tribune statewide top 25 rankings, while Maple Mountain is number 4 in 4A and number 11 overall. Springville's known for their defense, but can they score the football? Maple Mountain is known for their offense, but can they get off the field defensively? Those are the questions we'll ask today. Deal us a pair of 3. Each week we will discuss the 3 best notable performances and 3 surprise teams that caught our eye from last week. Lehigh quarterback Cameron Cooper completed 20 of 23 passes for 304 yards and 5 touchdowns in a win against Granger. West Jordan's Dylan Kranz accounted for 5 scores, 3 through the air and 2 on the ground, in the Jaguars' upset blowout win against Skyline. Davis's Connor Taylor continued his terror on defense, recording 18 tackles in a win against Olympus to inflate his season total to 45 takedowns in 3 games. Dixie was up 38-0 against Alta at halftime. The Flyers are starting to roll after an opening week loss to Springville. Provo improved to 3-0 with a 34-20 win against Judge Memorial. The Bulldogs are living up to their preseason hype, where we said they would contend for a playoff position. Watch out for the Bulldogs this season. After losing its first 2 games of the season against Northridge and Bountiful, Viewmont came back with a 36-7 win against Woods Cross. Let's see if that will take the Vikings to the next level this season. We're here with Springville coach Willie Child, and his team is getting prepared to play Maple Mountain. It's a crosstown rivalry. Both of them are 3-0. What are you expecting Friday night? It's going to be quite the scene here.
Yeah, it'll be a great game. There'll be a lot of fans here, being a rivalry game, and Maple Mountain's just down the road, so expecting a big night.
You know, Maple Mountain's known for their offense. They've got a great quarterback in Jaron Hall. Obviously, you're known for your defense. How are you going to frustrate him with your defense?
Well, we're just going to try to contain him, try to take away what they do best, which is the big plays, and be physical up front, and try to contain him and move the ball on offense, and we feel like we have a great shot to win.
How has this rivalry developed? They're a relatively new school, and Springville's been around forever. How has the rivalry developed?
Well, it's just kind of natural development. When the school split and they went up there, a lot of the kids that came here went up there, and so we're familiar with them, and it's a good healthy rivalry.
Offensively, what do you have to do to score points against them?
Kind of the same thing. We feel like defensively, like you said of Jaron Hall, he's a great player, so we got to be physical and contain him. On offense, we got to do what we do best, which is run the ball and establish the run, and then use the clock and be physical. You've got a stable of running backs, so for fans that aren't familiar with your team, how do you incorporate using so many different backs and getting each of them touches? We just kind of go with whoever's fresh. Scott Everett was our starter going in. He's been hurt a little bit, not sure if he'll play this week, and then Peyton Kelly-Opolo has stepped in and played great at tailback, and Devin Tate's a 2-year starter for us and plays fullback and does a great job. And then Bryce Nilsson can play fullback or tailback, and had a big game last week. That was Springville coach Willie Child. We're here with receiver Noah McCray and quarterback Jansen Thorpe. They're getting ready to play their rival Maple Mountain. Both teams are 3-0. Springville is known for their defense. Offensively, they're going to have to score points on Friday. What do you guys have to do to get in the end zone?
Well, Maple Mountain is definitely a great offensive team, so we're going to have to put up a lot of points like you said. And I think if we can establish the run game good, then our pass game can come off of it.
Do you think offensively you guys are a little underrated or a little overlooked?
Probably a little bit. I think definitely our defense is our strong point, and everybody seems to focus on that. Yeah.
Noah, can you talk about your defense and what you're going to face with Maple Mountain?
We're going to face great passing from Jaron, They have some receivers that are pretty good too. They don't run the ball that much though, so we're just gonna have to stop the pass and contain Jaron.
How do you accomplish that? How do you make life difficult for a great player like that?
When the defensive ends are coming off, they gotta have a great angle, make sure you can't escape them. Gotta have a good pass rush going. Don't give them any holes to get through, and then just good pass coverage down the field.
Jansen, can you talk a little bit about setting up the run with your pass, or vice versa? You are primarily a running team. Do you surprise once in a while with the pass? Looks like your passing statistics are pretty good.
Yeah, like I said, we're a run team, and we run a lot of play action and boots that definitely catch teams by surprise. I think that's definitely a big factor.
How well do you know these guys?
Pretty good. Went to school with some of them. Yeah, and I go to a lot of workouts with Jaron. Me and Jaron are pretty good friends.
So you've won 2 straight years. Do you let Jaron know that pretty often?
Yeah. I mean, it's bragging rights if you win.
Back to the Pick'em segment. Last week, Mr. Tom Wharton, you enjoyed yourself a 7-0. Perfect week. The first time we've had that this season. Another 6-1, subpar week for me. Now it's subpar because I got to get to 7-0. That's the mark. There was an omission on my part last week. I credited Brennan Smith with going 6-1 when he actually went 5-2. He too picked Tooele to beat Murray, which Murray won that game 23-20. That brings us to week number 4. Can you believe we're already 4 weeks into the season?
It's hard to believe, in these slate of games that we're picking, these 7 are some of the closest I've seen all year. It's a tough week. A lot of them we just flip a coin on.
So that brings us to the first game, Skyline at Wasatch. Skyline really didn't show up against West Jordan. They were kind of exposed and embarrassed in that game after 2 pretty solid weeks to open the season. Wasatch, on the other hand, had a big upset against Orem. They beat Orem, who was ranked in the top 25 entering that game. So Skyline at Wasatch. Who do you have, Tom?
I've got Skyline. I think the Eagles will survive the long trip, at least for a Salt Lake County team going up to Wasatch is a long trip. West Jordan is better than people think they are, and I think Skyline just had an off week and will be fine against the Wasps.
I agree. I think Skyline maybe had an uncharacteristic week against West Jordan, and as Tom said, West Jordan is not an easy opponent. We have them making the playoffs in arguably the toughest region in the state, Region 3. So don't discount a loss against West Jordan as something that you should be concerned about. That's a good football team. Now, going to Wasatch is going to be a little bit difficult. I'm impressed with how the Wasps played against Orem. Beating that team is not an easy task. Orem can really score the football. But Wasatch, on the other hand, other than that game, hasn't proven to me that they can hang with Skyline. I like Skyline in that game. A big rebound after an embarrassing loss in Week 3. Beaver at North Summit. Beaver is coming off 2 straight wins in the 2A classification, while North Summit was upset by Enterprise. North Summit was our #1 ranked team in the 2A classification. They lose 13-12 a week after they won a 1-point game against Duchesne. Do you think North Summit gets back on the winning track and beats Beaver? Do you think it's 2 straight losses for the Braves?
I'm going to go with the Braves in this one. I think the long drive from Beaver up to Colville will take a toll, and the Braves lost close to Enterprise. They're a good, solid defensive team, and I think they'll slow the Beavers down. But again, that's one of those pick'em games that I think you could flip a coin on.
I also like North Summit. That defense is extremely impressive. They had a shutout win in Week 1, a very, very defensive battle against Duchesne in the second week, and then they only gave up 13 points against the Wolves in Week 3. North Summit obviously needs to get their offense in gear. They can't just rely on their defense to win ball games, but in this particular instance, I like the Braves against the Beavers. North Summit gets another win, 3-1 on the season. Canyon View at Dixie. Canyon View is the surprise team probably in the 3A classification right now. They're 3-0. They just beat Cedar for the first time in a decade. They held off the Reds on a 2-point conversion in the final minutes of that game last week. So Canyon View is going to play Dixie, and Dixie is by far the toughest opponent the Falcons will have played. Dixie was up 38-0 at halftime against Alta last week in a convincing win. They're now 2 straight wins after falling to Springville here, and you can't fault Dixie too much for losing that opening game, because obviously we have found out that Springville is a great team. So can Canyon View really make a statement and beat Dixie at Dixie?
The answer to that, in my opinion, is no. Dixie is one of the finest 3 AA teams. They're the defending state champion. Trey Miller is one of the best running backs in the state. And I just don't think Canyon View, as good as they've been, has the horses to stay with Dixie, which is a top team in southern Utah.
A lot of folks would argue that Dixie is a top 20 program in the state, regardless of classification, and I would tend to agree. Right now, they're 24th in our top 25 statewide rankings. This one has a chance to get out of hand. I like Canyon View. I think they're a great team at the 3A classification. They are moving up, and Dixie is just a different animal. Tom mentioned Trey Miller. He's one of the top running backs in the state, and I think this could actually get out of hand. I like Dixie to win big time in this game. Here's a rough game for everybody. Bountiful at Highland, and Highland is 1-2, which is extremely surprising considering the talent that they have. But you look at who they lost to. They lost to Mountain Crest and they lost to Skyview, 2 of the better teams in Region 1. Skyview is one of the best teams in the entire state. Bountiful was embarrassed against Lone Peak in the opening week, but they have since come back with 2 straight wins against the 5A classification. They have to go to Highland, which is never an easy place to play. So Bountiful at Highland. What are your thoughts on that one, Tom?
This is the hardest one I've had to think about all week to pick. I have the utmost respect for both Brody Benson at Highland and Larry Wall at Bountiful. Larry Wall's been at Bountiful for so long that they've named the field after him. But I'm going to go with Bountiful in this game, which may be a dumb pick because on the road, I usually go with the home team in a close game. But I think Max Cooley, I think Bountiful just might be a little bit too big for Highland. That's not a very big team.
I think Bountiful has put their opening week blunders behind them. I've said from the very beginning of the season I thought the Braves were a challenger in the 4A classification, and I'm sticking with that. I picked Bountiful in our region previews to finish ahead of Highland, and in order to do that, they got to beat them. And so I'm not going against my vision in the preseason. I'm picking Bountiful to win this game. One of the more underrated games of Week 4 is Tooele at Stansbury. Tooele has had a resurgence under Kyle Brady at coaching. They have struggled a lot since he graduated after leading them to the state championship in 2002. Now he's coaching his brother there, and this team is really rolling. They had a disappointing game against Murray last week. They gave up 20 first quarter points, ended up coming back, but still losing that game to 23-20 against Murray. Meanwhile, Stansbury had graduated so many athletes and were expected to have a down year, a rebuilding year. That's absolutely not the case. They're 3-0. They've had some good wins so far. It's going to be at Stansbury. It's a crosstown rival. Stansbury, when they opened, took a lot of athletes from Tooele, and that could have been a problem of why they were having such a down period. So, Tom, Tooele at Stansbury. It's going to be an exciting atmosphere there on Friday night. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first off, I'm looking forward to going to Stansbury. I've been to pride myself on having been to most of the high schools in Utah. Stansbury is a high school I haven't covered a game yet, so I'm looking forward to that atmosphere. I think it's a cross-county rival. Those teams don't like each other very much, but I'm going with Stansbury. I think they've established a winning tradition there, and they may be the best 3AA team in the North this year.
Boy, Tom, we are not disagreeing much this week. I'm picking Stansbury as well. Until Tooele can show us that they can play with the big guys, it's Stansbury's game to lose. Tooele has shown that they have at least reach another level to where they can beat teams they're supposed to beat, but the teams that they're supposed to lose to, they continue to lose to, and that is one of those is Stansbury. Stansbury's had their number. I like Clint Christiansen as the coach there. He figures out ways to win with that triple option. They are always well coached, and a well-coached team will execute in the fourth quarter a little bit better. I like Stansbury to go to 4-0 and take full control of the 3AA North Division. Fremont is off of a recent win against Riverton. It wasn't even close. They blew their Silver Wolves counterparts out at home. Now they have to go up to Hiram to play Mountain Crest, who just did the same thing to Logan. They beat them 49-0. Logan has had a string of losses now to Skyview and Mountain Crest, so we don't know just how good Logan really is. But Mountain Crest has looked great. Obviously, we mentioned they beat Highland. That's a tough team. Tanner Schwab at quarterback has shown that he is stepping into Mark Wooten's lineage of great quarterbacks that have gone through that program. But Fremont is a great team. So the winner of this will still have to play Skyview in the Region 1 race, but they'll have a better chance of getting that Region 1 title by winning this game. Fremont at Mountain Crest. Who wins it and why?
I'm going to go with Fremont in this game. I think this is a game that's for the battle for second place in Region 1. I think Skyview is better than both of these teams, but I think that Fremont has played a little tougher schedule, and that tougher schedule will get them ready for what will be a pretty good matchup in Hiram.
For whatever reason, Fremont is not the sexy team in the state. They are always continuously flying under the radar, but they are continuously performing and getting results on the field, and that's what you got to go with. I like Fremont in this game. That defense is great. They showed that they are one of the top teams in the state by barely losing to Brighton in a game which you could argue that they probably should have won. Brighton's the number 2 team in the state. Fremont is underrated. They've won multiple games in a row within their own region. That will continue. Mountain Crest is making the jump from 4A. This is their first real test against a great 5A opponent, and I think that it's going to be in favor of the Silver Wolves. They move on. And that brings us to our game of the week. The reason why we're here, Maple Mountain 3-0, 2 early wins in close margin against Corner Canyon and Woods Cross to open the season. They ended those close games last week against North Sanpete. Easy win there. Meanwhile, Springville is also 3-0. They have relied on their defense, and they've had struggles on offense. For them to win this game, obviously they're going to need to score the football. Tom, do you think they have the capabilities of doing that?
I'm going to pick Springville in this one, but I think it's going to be a really close game. These are similar teams. They've both played tough preseason schedules to get ready for this game, and it could go either way, but I like Springville, the home team here.
For the first time in all 7 games, we are disagreeing on this one, Tom. I'm going to be picking the Maple Mountain Golden Eagles. In high school football especially, you want to look for playmakers, and Maple Mountain has one of the best playmakers in the entire state in quarterback Jaron Hall. In a close ball game in the 4th quarter, he's going to make plays. That's evident as he showed against Corner Canyon. He made a great play with 8 seconds left in that ball game to lift the Eagles past the Chargers. Look for him to do the same thing this week. It's amazing to think that we're 4 weeks into the season now. It's zipping by. We've enjoyed the show so far. We're looking forward to the upcoming weeks. It'll be interesting to see how these games play out. I have a 1-game lead over Tom in the pick'ems, and being that we only picked 1 game differently this week, it's going to be an interesting showdown for the rest of the year. Hopefully that we don't see any more perfect weeks from you.
I'm looking forward to another 7-0 week, which probably means that I'm going to go 1-6. Brennan.
Well, that'll do it. We appreciate it. We'll see you next week on Campus Takeover.